inside a $15 million watch collection, 2025. If price alone made style, every expensive wrist would look perfect. It doesn't. The quietest power signal isn't the logo, it's the intention behind the watch. You're here because details matter. That awareness already puts you ahead of most men who never question this. Today, we're opening a multi-million-dollar collection, not to gawk at price tags, but to decode what these choices really communicate: visibility, heritage, customization, and the foundations that anchor a serious rotation. If you're over 40 and done guessing, this is your playbook. We'll pull out the principles you can apply at any budget so your wrist tells the right story every time. Stay with me. The first idea flips the usual subtle equals classy rule on its head. Section 1. The philosophy behind the collection. Before we dive into specific pieces, we need to understand the mindset behind this entire collection. This is a collection built on a very specific principle: visibility matters. These aren't subtle pieces that only watch enthusiasts would recognize. These are watches that make a statement from across the room. And whether you love that approach or hate it, there's something worth learning from it. See, most advice about watches for men over 40 focuses on understated elegance. Buy classic Swiss pieces, keep it subtle, let people who know watches recognize quality. And that's absolutely valid advice for a lot of men. But this collection takes the complete opposite approach. It says, if you've got it, show it. If you've achieved success, why hide it? The watches here aren't whispering, they're making a bold statement about achievement and status. Now, here's where this gets interesting for you. You don't have to agree with this philosophy to learn from it. The lesson isn't that you should go out and buy the flashiest watch you can afford. The lesson is about confidence and commitment to your personal style. This collection works because it's completely authentic to the wearer's personality. It matches everything else about how this person presents themselves: bold, unapologetic, impossible to ignore. That alignment between personality and presentation is what creates impact. So before you judge this approach as too flashy or over the top, ask yourself, are your own choices equally authentic to who you are? Because a subtle dress watch on someone who's naturally bold and expressive can look just as wrong as a diamond-encrusted piece on someone who's naturally reserved. The first principle here is authenticity, and that's worth paying attention to, regardless of your personal taste. Section 2. The gold standard. Let's start with what might be the most worn category in this collection: solid gold timepieces. We're not talking about gold plating here. We're talking about full, solid 18-karat gold cases. The kind of weight you feel immediately when you put one on. The kind of presence that catches light from every angle. One of the signature pieces is a yellow gold watch from one of the most prestigious Swiss manufacturers. This isn't just gold, it's engineered to be seen. We're talking about a substantial case size, a prominent bezel, and a design that makes no apologies for being exactly what it is. Here's what's fascinating about choosing yellow gold in the modern era. It's actually a bold move. For the last couple decades, white gold and steel have dominated high-end watch collecting. Yellow gold fell out of favor because it was seen as too flashy, too old-fashioned, too obvious. But choosing yellow gold anyway? That's a statement. It says you're not following trends. You're setting your own standard, and there's something powerful about that kind of conviction. Now, from a practical standpoint, yellow gold is also one of the most durable precious metals for watches. It doesn't tarnish. It maintains its luster with minimal maintenance. And unlike plated pieces that wear through over time, solid gold looks essentially the same decades later as it did on day one. The weight is the other factor worth discussing. A solid gold watch feels completely different from a steel piece. It's heavier, it's substantial. Every time you check the time, you're reminded of what's on your wrist. For some men, that constant physical reminder of success and achievement is exactly what they want. But here's where we need to be honest. This approach isn't for everyone. If you're someone who prefers subtlety, if you work in an environment where this level of display might seem inappropriate, if it doesn't match your personality, then solid gold probably isn't your path. The lesson here isn't about the gold itself. It's about making choices that align with your values and personality, even when those choices go against prevailing trends. If bold works for you, then be bold. But make sure it's authentically you, not just an attempt to copy someone else's style. Section 3. The diamond factor. Now let's talk about something that divides opinion like almost nothing else in watches: diamonds. This collection includes several pieces with serious diamond work. We're not talking about a few accent stones. We're talking about bezels completely encircled with diamonds, dials with diamond markers, cases with diamond settings, the kind of pieces that sparkle unmistakably in any lighting. Here's where this gets interesting. In traditional watch collecting circles, added diamonds are often seen as diminishing value. Purists argue that you're taking a beautifully engineered timepiece and turning it into jewelry. They'll tell you that diamonds on a watch are tacky, that they ruin the design integrity, that real collectors would never go this route. But here's another perspective worth considering. Who made those rules? The reality is that certain styles of success call for certain types of presentation. If you're in industries where bold display is not just accepted but expected, then diamonds might make perfect sense. The key is understanding context and intention. Are you adding diamonds because you genuinely love how they look and they fit your style? Or are you doing it because you think it's what wealthy men are supposed to do? There's also the craftsmanship angle worth mentioning. High-quality diamond setting on a watch is actually serious work. We're talking about skilled artisans precisely cutting seats for each stone, ensuring perfect alignment, creating settings that won't lose stones over time. Done right, it's impressive craftsmanship. Done wrong, it looks cheap no matter how much you spent. In this collection, the diamond pieces serve a specific purpose: maximum impact. They're conversation starters. They're impossible to miss. They make a statement that's consistent with the overall brand of the person wearing them. Now, should you rush out and diamond set your watches? Probably not, unless that truly aligns with who you are and how you present yourself in every other aspect of life. But here's what you can take from this. Don't let other people's rules dictate your choices. If everyone tells you that real sophistication means subtle dress watches, but you're drawn to something with more presence, there's nothing wrong with following your own taste. The worst thing you can do is wear something that doesn't feel like you just because some expert said it's the right choice. Section 4. The luxury Swiss icons. Beyond the gold and diamonds, this collection includes several pieces from the absolute top tier of Swiss watchmaking. We're talking about brands that have been making watches for over a century, brands that have supplied timepieces to royalty, brands where the waiting list for certain models can be years long. One notable category is the classic sports watch from one of the most recognized luxury brands in the world. These are the pieces that every serious collector wants, the ones that hold their value, the ones that represent the pinnacle of Swiss engineering and design. But here's what's different about how they appear in this collection. They're often customized. Maybe it's a unique dial color. Maybe it's special case finishing. Maybe it's a combination of materials that isn't available in the standard catalog. This tells us something important about how high-net-worth individuals approach luxury goods. They don't just buy what's available to everyone else. They want exclusivity. They want pieces that can't be easily replicated, even by someone else with the same budget. From a practical standpoint, these Swiss icons serve as the foundation pieces. While the gold and diamond watches make bold statements, these are the pieces that serious watch people respect. They bridge the gap between flash and substance. And here's what's smart about including them. They diversify the collection. Not every situation calls for maximum visibility. Sometimes you want the confidence that comes from wearing something truly excellent, even if most people in the room won't recognize exactly what it is. For men over 40 building their own collections, this is actually one of the most valuable lessons. You need both statement pieces and foundation pieces. You need watches that work when you want to be noticed and watches that work when you want to focus attention elsewhere. The key is having options that all feel authentic to you. Your bold piece shouldn't feel like you're playing dress-up. Your subtle piece shouldn't feel like you're hiding. They should all feel like different facets of the same person. Section 5. The vintage and rare pieces. Here's where this collection gets really interesting. The vintage and rare pieces that you can't just walk into a store and buy. We're talking about watches from the 1960s and 70s in pristine condition, limited editions that were made in quantities of just a few hundred, pieces that require connections and persistence to even find, let alone acquire. There's something fascinating about watching a successful person collect vintage pieces. It shows an appreciation for history and craftsmanship that goes beyond just wanting the newest, flashiest thing. It demonstrates actual knowledge about watches, not just a willingness to spend money. One particular vintage sports watch in this collection is reportedly from an era when that model was worn by actual professionals, race car drivers, explorers, military personnel. These weren't jewelry pieces back then, they were tools. But now, in pristine vintage condition, they represent a connection to a different era of watchmaking. Here's what vintage collecting teaches us. Value isn't just about price, it's about rarity, condition, provenance, and story. A vintage piece in excellent condition with documented history can be worth far more than its modern equivalent, even though the modern piece has better technology. But collecting vintage requires knowledge. You need to understand what to look for, how to verify authenticity, what condition issues matter and which ones don't. It's a completely different skill set from just walking into a boutique and buying something new. For men over 40, vintage collecting can be incredibly rewarding. There's something meaningful about wearing a watch that's older than you are, about maintaining a piece of history, about connecting to the craftsmanship of a different era. But here's the warning. Vintage is also where you can get burned if you don't know what you're doing. The market is full of Frankenwatches, pieces made from parts of different watches, refinished dials, replaced components, and outright fakes. You need to either develop serious knowledge yourself or work with dealers you absolutely trust. The vintage pieces in this collection work because they add depth and credibility. They show that this isn't just about buying expensive things, it's about actually appreciating watches. Section 6. The complications and technical pieces. Let's talk about the technical side of this collection, the watches with serious complications and mechanical sophistication. We're talking perpetual calendars that track the date, day, month, and leap years without adjustment for decades, minute repeaters that chime the time on demand, tourbillons that counteract the effects of gravity on the movement. These are the pinnacles of mechanical watchmaking. Here's what's interesting. These pieces are often less visually flashy than the gold and diamond watches, but they're frequently more expensive. A minute repeater from a top manufacturer can easily cost 7 figures, not because of precious materials, but because of the incredible skill required to make one. Including pieces like this shows a deeper engagement with horology. It demonstrates that the collection isn't just about status display. It's also about appreciating what's technically possible in mechanical watchmaking. For most men over 40, complications are fascinating but impractical. You probably don't need a perpetual calendar. Your phone tells you the date just fine. You don't need a chronograph that can time to fractions of a second. You're not actually timing races, but there's something deeply satisfying about mechanical complications anyway. It's about appreciating engineering excellence, about valuing craftsmanship that serves no purpose beyond demonstrating what's possible when humans push technical boundaries. Here's my take on complications. If you're drawn to them, embrace that interest. But be honest about whether you'll actually use the functions or if you just like knowing they're there. Both are valid reasons to choose a watch, but it's worth being clear with yourself about which applies to you. The complicated pieces in this collection serve a specific purpose. They add legitimacy. They show that this isn't just someone spending money on flashy things. It's someone who understands and appreciates serious watchmaking. Section 7. The customization approach. One of the most distinctive aspects of this collection is the level of customization throughout. We're not just talking about changing straps. We're talking about custom dials, special case finishes, unique combinations of materials, even completely bespoke pieces made to specification. This is where serious money really comes into play. A standard luxury watch might cost $50,000. That same watch with custom work can easily double or triple in price. And here's the thing, that customization often reduces resale value rather than increasing it. But that's not the point. The point is having something nobody else has. The point is wearing a piece that's uniquely yours, that can't be replicated, that represents your specific vision. For high net worth individuals, this is often where luxury goods become truly satisfying. Anyone with enough money can buy the same watch, but creating something unique requires vision, connections, and significant resources. Now, does this apply to men building more modest collections? Actually, yes. In principle, if not in execution. You might not be commissioning custom pieces from Swiss manufacturers, but you can make your watches uniquely yours through smart strap changes, careful servicing that maintains character rather than restoring everything to new condition, even using watches in ways that create personal history and patina. The lesson here is about making things your own, about not being satisfied with just buying what everyone else has, about expressing individuality through thoughtful choices. Your version of customization might be finding the perfect vintage leather strap for your dress watch. It might be having your grandfather's watch restored and serviced so you can wear it regularly. It might be choosing a model that everyone else overlooks but that perfectly fits your wrist and style. The scale is different, but the principle is the same. Make it yours. Section 8. What this collection reveals about presentation. Let's step back and look at what this entire collection tells us about presentation and personal branding. This is a collection that makes no apologies. It's bold, it's expensive, it's designed to be noticed, and it's completely consistent with every other aspect of how this person presents themselves publicly. That consistency is actually the most important lesson here. The watches match the personal brand perfectly. They reinforce the same messages about success, confidence, and unapologetic achievement that come through in everything else. Compare that to someone who dresses conservatively, speaks carefully, presents themselves as thoughtful and understated, and then wears a diamond-encrusted gold watch. That disconnect would undermine both the presentation and the watch. It would feel like costume rather than character. For men over 40, this is crucial. Your watch should enhance your overall presentation, not contradict it. If you're building a professional brand around trust and reliability, maybe the flashy piece isn't serving you well, even if you can afford it and like it. But if your personality is naturally bold, if you work in industries where confidence and success need to be immediately visible, if that's authentically who you are, then don't let traditional rules hold you back from watches that match that energy. The worst thing you can do is wear something that doesn't feel like you just because someone told you it's what sophisticated men wear. Section 9. The value question. Let's address the elephant in the room. Is a collection like this a good investment? The honest answer is, it depends on what you mean by investment. Will some of these pieces appreciate in value? Probably. Certain rare Rolexes, Patek Philippe's, and Audemars Piguet pieces have shown remarkable appreciation over the past decades. Pristine vintage pieces often become more valuable over time. But here's the reality. Many pieces, especially heavily customized ones or those with added diamonds, won't maintain their purchase price. The moment you take them out of the store, they're worth significantly less than you paid. Does that matter? Only if you're buying watches as financial investments rather than things you genuinely want to own and wear. The successful person who built this collection isn't worried about resale value. They're not planning to sell these pieces to fund retirement. They bought them because they wanted them, because they enjoy them, because they reinforce their personal brand. That's actually a healthier relationship with luxury goods than obsessing over investment potential. For men over 40 building collections on more modest budgets, here's my advice. Buy watches you love from brands with reasonable resale value. That way, if circumstances change and you need to sell, you're not taking a complete bath. But don't buy watches you don't actually want just because someone said they're good investments. The best investment is buying something you'll wear and enjoy for years. The worst investment is buying something that sits in a drawer because it never felt quite right. Section 10. Practical takeaways for your collection. So what can you actually apply from studying a multi-million-dollar collection when your budget is more grounded in reality? First principle, authenticity matters more than price. A $500 watch that perfectly matches your personality will serve you better than a $50,000 watch that doesn't feel like you. Figure out your style, your values, what you want your presentation to communicate. Then find watches that support that vision. Second principle, consistency creates impact. Your watch should feel like part of a cohesive personal brand, not a random accessory. If everything else about you says understated professional, your watch should reinforce that. If everything else says bold achiever, your watch should match that energy. Third principle, collection diversity serves different contexts. Even within an authentic personal style, you need range. You need something for formal occasions, something for casual weekends, something that bridges those extremes. Build systematically to cover those needs. Fourth principle, quality beats quantity. 3 watches you absolutely love will serve you better than 15 watches you feel lukewarm about. Be selective, be thoughtful, don't accumulate just to accumulate. Fifth principle, make it personal. Whether that's through vintage pieces with history, customization that makes something unique to you, or simply choosing pieces that reflect your specific taste rather than following trends, find ways to make your collection distinctively yours. Here's a practical exercise. Look at your current watch collection. For each piece, ask yourself, does this feel like me? Does this serve a specific purpose in my wardrobe? Have I worn it in the last 6 months? If you're answering no to any of those questions, that watch probably doesn't belong in your collection anymore. Then think about gaps. What situations do you regularly face where you don't have the right watch? What styles are you drawn to that you don't currently own? Build from there, deliberately and thoughtfully. Section 11. The confidence factor. Here's the truth that doesn't get discussed enough. The most important thing your watch should give you is confidence. Whether it's a bold gold piece that makes you feel powerful, a vintage watch that connects you to history, a technical masterpiece that satisfies your appreciation for engineering, or a simple piece that just feels right on your wrist, the best watch is the one that makes you feel more like yourself. This collection we've been discussing works because it clearly gives the wearer confidence. These aren't pieces chosen by a stylist or because some expert said they're the right choices. These are watches that match the wearer's personality and reinforce their self-image. You need that same alignment in your own collection. Your watches should make you feel good every time you put them on. They should make you stand a little straighter, feel a little more ready to face whatever your day holds. If a watch makes you anxious, whether because you're worried about damaging it, or because it doesn't feel quite right, or because you're not sure if it's appropriate, that watch isn't serving you well. The solution isn't necessarily to sell that watch. Sometimes it's about finding the right context for it. Sometimes it's about getting more comfortable with your choice. But sometimes it genuinely means acknowledging that a particular piece isn't right for you, even if it should be on paper. Section 12, Beyond the Price Tag. Let's talk about something crucial. Price doesn't equal style. This collection represents millions of dollars in watches. But you know what? Some of the most stylish men I've encountered wear collections worth a fraction of that and look absolutely phenomena. What makes them work? The same principles we've been discussing: authenticity, consistency, thoughtful choices, understanding of context, confidence in their selections. You don't need a 6-figure watch to look successful and sophisticated. You need the right watch for you, worn with confidence in appropriate contexts. I've seen men wear $200 vintage pieces that looked absolutely perfect because they understood their style and chose pieces that supported it. I've also seen men wear $50,000 watches that looked wrong because they were clearly copying someone else's style rather than expressing their own. The expensive collection we've been discussing works because there's clear intention behind every piece. But intention doesn't require unlimited budget. It requires self-awareness and thoughtfulness. Here's what you should take from this. Study this collection not to copy it, but to understand the principles behind it. Then apply those principles at whatever budget level works for your life. Choose pieces that authentically reflect who you are. Build a collection that serves your actual needs. Make sure each piece adds something meaningful. And wear everything with the confidence that comes from knowing you've made thoughtful choices that work for you. Look, we've just walked through a watch collection that most people will never even get close to experiencing in person. But the real value here isn't in the specific pieces or the price tags. It's in understanding how successful people think about presentation, authenticity, and personal brand. The watches you choose communicate something about who you are and what you value. The question is, are they communicating what you actually want to communicate? For men over 40, this should be a time when you're clear about your style. You've lived enough to know what works for you. You've achieved enough that you don't need to prove anything to anyone. And you should be confident enough to make choices that feel authentically like you, regardless of what trends or rules might say. Whether your collection is worth $15 million or $1,500 doesn't matter nearly as much as whether it serves you well, whether it gives you confidence, whether it reflects who you actually are. If this perspective helped you think differently about watches and style, I'd appreciate it if you subscribed. I create content like this regularly, breaking down style principles for men who want to look sharp without overthinking it. And here's my question for you. If you could only keep 3 watches from your current collection, which 3 would you choose and why? What does that tell you about your actual priorities versus what you've accumulated? Drop a comment below. I read every one, and your insights often spark ideas for future videos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.